It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Tuesday, December 6th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful Tuesday? We've got current news from around the world, the practical word study, and of course we have Provi in the media. All right, everyone, how are you doing today? Yes, I hope you guys are enjoying your week. Monday is in the books, which means we can start and get into the meat of the week and do the things doing the will of God that God has told us in advance. And yes, that's last week's message, and that's something that we really have to take into consideration. Let's pray. Let's get our hearts and our minds thinking more deeply. Let's really realize we're already past, we're at the first week of December. It's gone. We have only 3 weeks and a couple days left. That is not a lot of time. So I hope that all of us here too, when it comes to us, comes to all of us who are listening to this podcast, we have to think about how we can end the year really, really well. And of course, prayer and, listen to the word, putting the words to action are the two most basic things that we have. And I hope we can go into more detail when it comes to today's practical word study. I hope everyone keeps liking and commenting. Love to hear what you guys are thinking and doing. It is a good time for all of us to really think about what is the best thing that, it's a good time to think about how can we build this community, contribute to the community so that all of us can do better at the same time. And I think that's an important thing, right? One of the things that we can look at is the contribution to this community by commenting or liking or doing whatever on SoundCloud or YouTube. It is actually, the goal is to help each other, right? Sometimes we help each other by kind of venting and expressing myself. And then everyone's like, oh, I feel the same way too. And just having someone to listen to you is awesome. Another thing is you can help give tips and advice to other people, or you could just talk about all the different things that you've gone through also. It's just commenting and liking is such a good thing. You can like other people's comments too. I think that's a great, not just this podcast itself. Like other people's comments if you agree with it and such too, all right? Also, Question Answer Thursday, a couple questions that already came out. So get your questions ready for this week. In a couple days, we're going to have the Q&A Thursday, one of the most popular segments every single week. I love that segment too, just hearing real-world practical questions that people have going through their everyday life. Here's something that I got to get off my chest, all right? I don't know what it is. From last week, I don't know what it is. You guys know that I'm a very sporty person. I love sports. But for some reason from last week, I'm just totally unmotivated to play, right? That I'm so unmotivated, I even get bored playing sports. It's really, really weird. It is weird, right? And, this is kind of that's one of the reasons, when I was, remember when you guys saw that I broke my back window? It's just I wasn't paying attention. I had so much stuff on my mind, wondering to myself, what is going on with inside my head, right? Last week I played sports twice and so not into it, right? Didn't feel motivated to play, wasn't exciting, it just kind of going through the motions, right? And that's something that especially when it comes to competition, it's not a motivating thing, right? It's not something where you're excited, you look forward to it. It's kind of I'm going to do it just for the sake of exercise, which is kind of it's not a very, very good reason to do it. I want to do it because I love it, because I love sports, right? So I was thinking about the two different, I thought about two real big reasons why. Okay, so the first reason I thought to myself is probably the biggest one is, when we overthink things that are happening inside of our life, things that are bothering me, or, thinking about my future and, why I need a profile picture and stuff like that, right? All that stuff, why I'm going to Korea, all that stuff there is it's in my head a lot. Right, and because it's something that's going to change, my life could change very drastically, right? Within 2-3 months, and for me, that's a lot to think about. And it's always in my mind. So there's one thing that I'm thinking about a lot, but the second thing that I thought to myself too is something more practical that can be done right now. Is when it comes to sports, because I was an athlete all my life. A lot of you guys know the story. I was captain of my varsity basketball team, captain of the varsity volleyball team, captain of the varsity rugby team. I was MVP in all 3 sports. For me, like competition is such an important thing for me. It really is. Like, remember when I was telling you guys that, was it last year, I was like totally playing soccer every day, right? Every night, went to the park, played soccer every single day, right? And people are like, well, what made you motivated to start playing soccer every day? Is there was a soccer tournament in Houston, real competition, trophies, everything else, it was all there. And because of that, it motivates me to go out. And I thought to myself, yeah, you know what? I do need something more real sometimes, right? It's almost like playing sports just to play, like practice. There's just to play. And then there's playing sports because it's true competition. There is a champion. There is a loser. There's something on the line, right? And it changes the way that we see everything too. And I thought to myself is like, yeah, that's something that I really have to get my heart and my mind into, and maybe even talking to the sports people like, hey, let's get some real competition going. Like, that's why I look forward to we have the Ultimate Frisbee League we have every Saturday. Look forward to it, just to be competitive, just to be in a league. Everything's taken down. There is a champion. There is a loser. All these other different things, they are there, right? So I'm just like, I got to really think about this too. So that is something that I think I should start thinking about too, to get myself, or maybe even go into another, like a real league over here in Malaysia where there's something on the line, right? I don't know. So those are a couple things that I was thinking about. I don't know what you guys think about that too. Obviously there was something, number one is a very, very big thing, and that's probably the biggest one that's kind of in my mind, but I know that I can overcome it if there was true competition, right? At least in that moment when I'm playing sports, and it's healthy for me and stuff like that too. I'm not sure. Have you guys gone through that? You guys go through that? Like you get unmotivated by something you really, really enjoy? Either way. Also, I had a very, very interesting discussion with, remember I told you yesterday I had a great discussion with a head leader about leadership. Are they leading or following? But one of the things that came up in my mind, and I think that's something that we should discuss about too, right? Actually, you know what? Those of you guys are listening right now, I'm going to switch Provi in the media with another day. Right? But I'm going to talk about something that I think is very, very important for all of us as church members. And it's something where it has to do with like the Friday night prayer nights, right? How do you make the Friday night prayer nights better? How do you make it something that's more inspiring? How do you make it more motivating? How do you make it something you'd be like, oh, that's totally what I was thinking about. That's totally what I want to do. Or that would totally help when it comes to Friday prayer nights. And I'm thinking from both perspectives and both points of view. And I'm not going to say that anyone is wrong, obviously. There's no one who's wrong or anything along that line. But it just kind of has to do with both sides, what we have to do to compromise for both sides to do really, really well. Either way. All right. So I am super, I'm going to talk about that today, right? So I'm going to switch it up because I'm just really inspired by this. I think something that is going to help a lot of people when it comes to head leading and the Friday prayer night meetings and like sermon delivery, like, kind of all those things together clumped into one, because I had this great conversation with the head leader just over the weekend, and it really spurred my thoughts even more. Like, yeah, that's something we should really, really think about too, right? So, let's get into that for the final one today. Mainly because the Provi in the media for this week, I did have something in mind, but I still don't feel like, this is something I really want to talk about, right? There's not a lot of updates going on right now, but I do want to talk about it, and I will talk about it this week also, all right? So we will switch Provi in the media today with thoughts on the week of Friday prayer meetings and head leading. I guess like that would be the two things that I will be talking about too. Okay. So the poll, brand new poll just came out. Want to see what you guys are thinking about this. This is kind of cool. Remember last week we talked about what is your best evangelism skill, and we're going to go the opposite. And I want you to talk about what is the weakest, your church. Look at your own church and what part of evangelism is your weakest point. Is it the lecturing? Is it the bringing people? Is it connecting to the word? Is it managing people? Is it finance? Like, what is the weakest part of evangelism at your church? And we'll get a very, very good comparison to see like the difference between, we might have a skill, but overall it might not be as strong as we think it is, or it might be stronger than we think it is, or we get to understand what are the things we should be focusing on even more than our own skill. Okay, so that's going to be the poll for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one too. Espresso with Sky, we had a great video on last week. We put it up. It's my situation of going to 4 different cafes, not on purpose, but it led to me thinking very, very deeply about how assumptions can like bring pain and suffering, but how assumptions of God can bring a lot of pain and suffering too, and kind of had that conversation with God too while I was praying. All right. So let's get this show started on the road on this amazing and awesome Tuesday. Who is today's featured artist of the day? And of course, one of my favorite rock groups right now. I hope they come up with a new song, but Julius is everywhere. He's got like a bunch of songs already out. This song is from Kuro Black and Julius from Australia, and this song is Inside My Head. After that, we have Zeniac from the Paper News Associates in Korea with Eternal Self, and we'll end things off with Youngse from South.
My jaw and holding my breath. I don't know how much strength I have left. Is this the real life or am I just dreaming? And oh, won't you hold my hand as I am on my knees, praying to you and begging, please, won't you be by my side? Just no way that I'll ever leave you, but there's just no way that I'll ever change, that I'll ever leave your side. Oh yeah. So again I call on your name, yeah, Lord. Lord, 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 won't you be by my because you are the love of my life. You are the truth. You are the way. You are the life. Oh, 'cause Lord, you are the name that I call when I feel afraid and lonely. Clenching my jaw and holding my breath. I don't know how much strength I have left, so I call on your name. And oh, when I see the day coming at me and I'm shaking inside of me, I know you're with me, so it's all gonna be alright. Yeah, alright. Oh, my Lord, be next to me. I need you here. I just can't live without you. It's true, yeah. Because you are the love of my life. You are the truth. You are the way. You are the life. Oh, 'cause Lord, you are the name that I call when I feel afraid and lonely. I only call you. Yeah.
And there it is. That is Youngse from South Africa with a brand new single that just dropped a couple of weeks ago. That is I Call You. Before that, we had Zeniac from the Pip Music Association. Actually, you know what? I did the wrong order. It was Kiro Black and Julius from Australia with Inside My Head, and the feature artist of the day was not Kiro Black and Julius, it was Zeniac from PMA in Korea with Eternal Self. So my mistake on the order there, but we did hear all three songs, right? So let's get into some current news going on around the world. So yes, as brides of this history, we have a responsibility to pray for the world, but in order to pray for the world, we got to know what is going on. So let's start off first. What is going on when it comes to Russia and the Ukraine as the winter sets in over there in the Ukraine? And from U.S. intelligence, they say fighting set to slow for winter months. The fighting in Ukraine has been slowing down, and this will likely continue in the coming winter months, U.S. intelligence agencies believe. However, there's been no evidence of fading resistance on the part of Ukrainian forces, and that comes from the U.S. Director of Intelligence, Avril Haines. She said both sides would try to refit, resupply, and reconstitute for any counteroffensive in the spring. And it follows Russian attacks on Ukraine's critical energy infrastructure. The war in Ukraine is now in its 9th month, but Russia has lost more than half the land it seized. Haines told the Defense Forum in California that most of the fighting is currently around the Bakhmut and Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine. But she said fighting had slowed down following Russia's withdrawal of troops from the west of the Kherson region last month. She also said, we're seeing a kind of a reduced tempo already of the conflict and expect that's likely to be what we see in the coming months. She was telling the news agencies over there. And she said both Ukraine and Russian militaries would be looking to prepare for any counteroffensive after the winter, but said we actually have a fair amount of skepticism as to whether or not the Russians will be, in fact, prepared to do that. And she also said, I think more optimistically for the Ukrainians in that time frame. Haines said U.S. intelligence believes Russian President Putin does not have a full picture at this stage of just how challenged his military are, and they say they see a shortage of ammunition, morale, supply issues, logistics, a whole series of concerns that they're facing. However, analysts at the Institute for the Study of War painted a different picture in a daily review, questioning whether the freezing conditions could permit a higher pace of operations as winter sets in. The Institute cited comments by Serhiy Haidai, Ukraine's regional governor in Luhansk, who observed that the weather in the eastern Donbas region was changing as winter conditions set in. And previously, they had asserted that operations in the Donbas were unlikely to slow down as freezing conditions created the most optimal times of year for mechanized maneuver warfare. Meanwhile, on Saturday, Ukrainian President Zelensky described the price cap set by his Western allies on Russian oil exports as weak and said it was not serious enough to damage the Russian economy. The cap, due to come into force on Monday, is aimed at stopping countries paying more than $60 for a barrel of seaborne Russian crude oil. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Moscow had prepared for the move but would not sell its oil under the cap. At a virtual meeting on Sunday, a group of the world's top oil-producing countries is expected to stick to its oil output targets. And at their last ministerial session in October, the OPEC Plus group, made up of countries including Russia and the United Arab Emirates, agreed to reduce output by 2 million barrels per day from November in a bid to help boost oil prices. The move angered the U.S. and other Western nations, with Washington accusing the group of siding with Russia. And since October, oil prices have declined due to slower global growth and higher interest rates. OPEC sources say the group is likely to approve a policy rollover. Meanwhile, Ukraine's security service said the government in Kyiv is imposing sanctions against 10 senior Orthodox Church figures it accuses of having supported Russia's invasion. The sanctions, which will freeze their assets for 5 years, are the latest moves by the Ukrainian government against religious groups seen as potentially subversive. So that is what's going on over there in the Ukraine and Russia. Let's move on to Iran. And this is quite good news. Good and, not the greatest, but it's good. Iran is going to disband their morality police amid ongoing protests, says the Attorney General. Iran's morality police, which is tasked with enforcing the country's Islamic dress code, is being disbanded, the country's Attorney General says. Mohammad Jafar Montazeri's comments, yet to be confirmed by other agencies, were made at an event on Sunday. Iran has seen months of protests over the death of a young woman in custody. Mahsa Amini had been detained by the morality police for allegedly breaking strict rules on head coverings. And Mr. Montazeri was at a religious conference when he was asked if the morality police was being disbanded. He said, The morality police had nothing to do with the judiciary and have been shut down from where they were set up, and control of the force lies with the Interior Ministry and not with the judiciary. On Saturday, Mr. Montazeri also told the Iranian parliament the law that requires a woman to wear hijabs would be looked at. Even if the morality police is shut down, this does not mean the decades-old law will be changed. Women-led protests labeled riots by the authorities have swept Iran since 22-year-old Amini died in custody on September 16th, 3 days after her arrest by the morality police in Tehran. Her death was the catalyst for the unrest, but it also follows discontent over poverty, unemployment, inequality, injustice, and corruption. So, if confirmed, the scrapping of the morality police would be a concession, but there are no guarantees it would be enough to halt the protests, which have seen demonstrators burn their head coverings. So let's see what happens. After they get rid of this morality police, let's see what the next step is going to be over there also. All right, but it's great. Protests are actually working. They got rid of the morality police, which is a definite plus for the protests, but is it a concession, or are they just going to do the exact same thing using the regular police or something along that line? Let's see. All right, so prayers go out to Iran. All right, so let's go over to Indonesia, right next door to where I am right now in Malaysia. Mount Semeru. Indonesia raises alert to highest level as volcano erupts on Java Island. Last week, same thing happened in Hawaii too. So what is going on around the world, all these natural disasters, things we need to pray about. What is God saying? Indonesia's Mount Semeru volcano has erupted, sending ash billowing into the sky and sparking evacuation on the country's main island, Java. Authorities raised the volcano's warning status to the highest level, meaning its activity had escalated. No injuries have been reported, but nearly 2,000 people were evacuated from the area around the volcano, and people have been urged to keep at least 8 kilometers away as hot avalanches of lava poured from Semeru. The increased threat level from 3 to 4 also means a danger threatens people's homes. Spokesperson for Indonesia's Center for Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation told a national broadcaster. The organization said a bridge being rebuilt after a previous eruption had been badly damaged. Volcanic ash mixed with monsoon rain was falling on nearby villages, and about 2,000 people, including children and seniors, had been evacuated. At least 6 villages had been affected, and videos of the event showed the sky turning black as a massive plume of ash blocked the sunlight. Japan issued a tsunami warning for its southernmost islands after the eruption, but meteorologists said no tidal changes had been observed. Mount Semeru in East Java province began erupting at about 2:46 a.m. local time, authorities said, and Indonesia sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates collide, causing frequent volcanic activity as well as earthquakes. Semeru, also known as the Great Mountain, is the highest volcano in Java at 3,676 meters and one of the most active. It last erupted exactly 1 year ago, killing at least 50 people and leaving streets filled with mud and ash. And the eruption also follows a series of earthquakes on the west of Java Island, located about 640 kilometers east of Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, including one last month that killed more than 300 people. So remember, Indonesia is the 4th largest populated country in the world. Over 200 million people. They're right after America. So a lot of people don't know they're the 4th largest in population. But yeah, this is why prayers go out to Indonesia also. And there it is. That's the top 3 news around the world. Let's get to some sporting news, and we're going to focus mainly on the World Cup. A couple games happened overnight. It was England defeating Senegal 3-0. Harry Kane scores his first goal of the tournament. And in France, it was France defeats Poland 3-1. Mbappe scores twice. And now that means in the next round, it's going to be England against France and Argentina versus the Netherlands in the next round. So that's going to be kind of cool to watch there too. Kylian Mbappe, probably the best player in the tournament right now. Man, he scored 2 goals in France's 3-1 win against Poland, right, which sends the World Championship to the quarterfinals. And he's already got 5 goals. Right? And they're basically calling him the natural heir to Messi and Ronaldo. And, you know, Mbappe was the one who helped France win the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Then he moved into pole position in the race for this tournament's Golden Boot with 2 goals. So he got 5 so far. So he's right there at the top right now. Bad news for South Korea, as Neymar, who injured his right ankle in Brazil's opening match of the World Cup, will train Sunday evening, and his availability for the team's round of 16 match Monday against South Korea will then be determined by their medical staff, right? And he said, and basically they said if he practices okay, he'll be playing tomorrow. right? So also they confirmed that Brazil's Danilo, who also was injured, who injured his ankle in Brazil's 2-0 win against Serbia, will be available to play. Neither was available to play in Brazil's 1-0 win against Switzerland or their 1-0 loss to Cameroon. And like Neymar, Alex Sandro will train Sunday prior to determining whether he will feature against South Korea or not. So, man, if these three come back in, because they had a big injury, 3-4 injuries over there in Brazil, if they come back, man, that means that Korea's going to have a really tough time, right, in the round of 16. Last but not least, England's Raheem Sterling leaves the World Cup. He left. Why? Home invasion. He's going to fly back to England after missing the 3-0 World Cup round of 16 win over Senegal. The FA confirmed on Sunday, with sources telling ESPN his house was a target of an armed robbery. And the 27-year-old held talks with his manager on the morning of the game after learning his Surrey home was broken into on Saturday evening. But the thing that, why he's going back is not, it wasn't an empty house. His family was in there. Right? So I know that it says that his wife, his girlfriend, and 2 of his kids are there, but his grandmother, I believe, was in the house, right? What does it say here? It says that full details are unclear, right? But some of Sterling's family and close friends, including his girlfriend, Paige, and 2 of his children, were in Qatar, while his mother is understood to be back in London. So there might be something going on. Unfortunate, right? And our prayers go out to him too. But it's so, it's such a big thing that he's actually leaving the World Cup, which is probably something that's serious that happened right there too. So prayers go out to him too. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the top news around the world and in sports. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. But you know what that means. It is the golden time. Yes, this is the golden time, a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. Hope all of you guys are looking forward to giving glory to God and the Holy Spirit. So, what are we going to praise and worship today? We're going to start off with victory and then love in a fiery way, and we'll end things off with the truth. So, as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Victory has been achieved, this history has won. Since we've received our Lord, we're sharing love and joy. This history is growing with time, more as the days pass by. This is the history of hope, providence history. Now that the rapture's fulfilled, we have fulfilled heaven's will. No greater glory exists, yesterday, now, and evermore. This history is shining so bright, more as the days pass by. Those who have not realized fade in the distant night. Victory has been achieved, this history has won. Since we've received our Lord, we're sharing love and joy. This history is growing with time, more as the days pass by. This is the history of hope, providence history. Now that the rapture's fulfilled, we have fulfilled heaven's will. No greater glory exists, yesterday, now, and evermore. This history is shining so bright, more as the days pass by. Those who have not realized fade in the distant night. Victory has been
Since the old passed away, everything is new now. Hear the new word of God for this time. Then the fire of the great Holy Spirit will burn. It'll burn fierily, fierily. You'll be moved, you'll be moved, you'll be moved. Now the Lord we had been waiting for, He's returned, hope is fulfilled. Love the Lord, love the Lord, love the Lord. We will love fierily, fierily. This is the rapture we've waited for. Rise up and rapture more every day. Onward to reach heaven's highest city of gold. God the Spirit and the Lord, Holy Son, shining with brilliance and beauty, everlasting. Love the Lord, only the Lord, only Him. Love the Lord, love the Lord, love the Lord. We will love fierily, fierily. This is the rapture we've waited for. Rise up and rapture more every day. Onward to reach heaven's highest city of gold. God the Spirit and the Lord, Holy Son, shining with brilliance and beauty, everlasting. Love the Lord, only the Lord, only Him, shining with brilliance and beauty, everlasting. Love the Lord, only the Lord, only Him.
The light of truth is shining on me. I see my spirit's face shining so bright. The light of truth is renewing my heart. It's guiding me towards blessings and grace. This is the only path, and I'm surely on it. I see God waiting for me at the end. All I've gained, I've gained through the truth. Everlasting life, everlasting love. All I've gained, I've gained through the truth. Rapture of my spirit, my life as a bride. Jehovah's green light shines on the light of truth has conquered the world, and every other word is put to rest. The light of truth fulfilled history. The greatest will of God has been fulfilled. This is the only path, and I'm surely on it. I see God waiting for me at the end. All I've gained, I have gained through the truth. Everlasting life, everlasting love. All I've gained, I have gained through the
God's perfect will lasts eternally. Jehovah's glorious light shines in this land, and we finally see that our dreams are fulfilled. Now we will shine for eternity, lighting the world with the truth, with the word that we preach. The word makes everything possible. A happy future is possible. Fictionate characters possible. Now we will rapture impossibly high. We have gained everything, this path of truth. Always the word of truth, eternal word of truth.
We can do anything through truth. With the word we can win for sure. God's word flows on without end. So as we end, we will take flight and see miracles. All I've gained, I have gained through the truth. Everlasting life, everlasting love. All I've gained, I have gained through the truth. Rapture of my spirit. My life as I ride. All I've gained, I have gained through the truth. Everlasting life, everlasting love. All I've gained, I have gained through the truth. Rapture of my spirit. My life as I ride.
And that was a great song. That was With the Truth. Before that, Love in a Fiery Way. I haven't heard that song in a long time. And of course, Victory. All right, so now that our hearts are made and prepared ready through the time of praise and worship, let's get into today's practical word study. And there are probably just one or two things that I really want to talk about today. And I think it's something that in order to make this week's word much more practical, I want to go over one of the Proverbs. Like there was Proverbs, about 20-something Proverbs that Sunsteam sent over. And one of them is something where it is super practical. And I wanted to make it even more practical than that, right? So let's take a look at this. This proverb says, each of you check to see how many things you need to take care of, write them down, look carefully, and then take care of them. All right. So in this, I think it actually takes care of 2-3 different things, but it's really, really hard to organize just to say, how many things do I need to take care of? How many things do I need to, like, you're going to probably have a bunch of ideas coming into your mind. And one of the things that we need to do as human beings, in order for us to do things better, we need to organize our minds a little bit better, right? We just got to organize our minds. And what I want you to do is right now on a piece of paper, or when you get home on a piece of paper, we're going to make a list, all right? And on your list, I want you to write 5 different categories, because one of the things about the human mind is the human mind needs something to focus on. But what if it's, someone just says to you, what do you want to change? And you'd be like, oh my gosh, there's so much to change. And we know we have a lot of things to change, but if we don't have like some type of focus, it really throws off our mind. You know what I mean? It's like really like, wow, I got to think about this. What we need to do is allow our minds to focus on a certain topic, right? So there's 5 topics that I thought would be very, very important for all of us. And when we make this list, the first one, the easiest one I believe, is physical health, okay? So what about your physical health do you need to take care of, right? Some people need to exercise. Some people need to eat better. Some people need to eat at better times of the day, right? Some people need to sleep a little bit more, right? So like even under physical health, there's a bunch of things, whether it's exercise, eating, sleeping, right? Like even those, like even under physical health, you can look at those 3 things and think to yourself is, what should I do? Like, I have this sheet right in front of me right now. I got my in-body body check at the gym because I've been working out for about a week now, right? And my score is 84 out of 100, okay? And it tells me my weight is, at the moment, is 82.8 kilograms, which is quite normal for me, and I lost about 2 kilograms while I've been here in Malaysia. And then it says my body fat percentage is at, where is it? Body fat percentage is at 18.2%, which is normal, right? It's normal. So if I want it to be not normal, it would have to be over 20%. So for me, I'm like, oh, my body fat, like when I was a super athlete, like in school, eating like tons of food, but I was playing so much sports, my body fat was around 12 to 13%. Right? And that's not even like crazy, but that would still be under normal, but the better side of normal, right? My BMI is over. I'm at 25 is normal for me, but I'm at 25.6. But I'm looking at this, and of course, it's not looking at my body type because apparently it says that I have too much muscle. Ooh, I got too much muscle. Right? So when I look at this, I'm like, oh, okay. So now I got my body checked out, like certain things that I want to do. Do I want to lose weight? And the answer is, I don't really want to lose weight. I just want to lose some of my fat. That's what I'm more concerned about. I'm playing sports like 4 or 5 times a week, and on top of that, I'm playing. I'm at the gym now for been over a week at the gym now. So that's something that I'm really, really happy about too. So I'm looking at all these other different things, like okay. These are things that I am doing right now, and I've already got my gym pass a week ago, and I have a goal now, not so much gaining weight or losing weight, it's just about losing fat percentage. I want to go from 18.2, and I want to lose about maybe 1.5% body fat, and I want to do that within 2 months, which is pretty fair. So that's something that I'm looking at right now too. Physical, like my sleeping patterns, of course, I want to be in bed without my phone. Right? I want to be in bed by 11, to be honest. That's for myself, right? So what I'm doing is I'm focusing only on my physical health, writing certain things down, right? And I'm looking at things that are more realistic, like what can I actually do? The second category that I would put down is mental health. How are you mentally? What is your mental health? Are you anxious? Are you depressed? Do you have a lot of negativity? I'll take a look at these different types of things. Right? And how am I going to help now I'm going to focus only on my mental health. Third one, I go into my spiritual health. How is my pre-dawn? How are my prayers? How do I listen to the word? Am I studying the word more, right? Or are different things in that area, right? What should I do for my prayer? And then my fourth one is how are my relationships? Right? My relationships with friends and family, right? Obviously not talking, of course you have a husband, wife, and children, you can add those in there. But for me, I don't have like a wife or children. So I'm looking at what is my relationship like with my parents? What are my relationships like with my close friends? What are my relationships like with the people I do business with, right? And I'm looking at what are the things that I can make, what are the things that I need to do to take care of my relationships better with people? We all make mistakes. We're all going through difficult times. Sometimes you need to apologize. Sometimes you need to think more deeply. There's just tons of things that we need to think about. And then last but not least, I would put finance. Financially, what are the things that you can do to take care of your finances a little bit better, right? And I do think that we don't have to write like this long list of 20 things. I would look at these and try to do, like say I wrote 5 different categories: physical, mental, spiritual, relationships, financially. And this week, or for the rest of this month, just start to work on one thing each, right? And it's not that hard if you have it listed and written down. Like I have my list of priorities I need to do today. Today, gotta exercise, right? And that kind of helps with my mental health, because what helps with mental health? Exercise helps with your mental health, right? So that kind of covers 2 parts. Then I have my spiritual health. What am I going to do with my prayer? How can I make my prayer a little bit deeper? I'm going to set a time for my prayer, right? Every day I'm going to pray at this time. I'm going to make sure that I have this, or listening to the word, or having my pre-dawn. Even if it's a little bit later, as long as I'm getting these things done. Relationships. What can I do with my relationships with people? What am I not doing enough of? Am I not checking up on them? Should I write a text or send people some messages just thanking them, right? Just to two different people a day or something along that line. I'm thinking about this too. And last but not least, financially, how am I looking at myself financially? Am I doing better? Can I be doing better financially? What should I be doing more at this time, right? So when I look at these things here, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. This is what I can do. Right? So I think with this week's message, especially when it comes to management is life, right? All these things here, I do think it's a great way. And when someone says, "Oh, what about the other members of the people that you're trying to take care of, like help manage and stuff?" That would be under relationships, right? Are you only calling the newcomers or members when they're struggling, or Are you someone who's like a real person who really cares and is calling them at multiple times, different times of the day for no apparent reason? Not because you want to give them the word, not because you're checking up on them, just because you care about them. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different things you can do, and I think this is the best proverb. Once again, each of you check to see how many things you need to take care of, write them down, look carefully, and then take care of them. Take action on them, right? And I think that's a very, very important thing. But even more important than that, like I said, put them into categories. You might have other categories that you think about, but if you do have another category you think is very important, go ahead, write in the comments below. Love to hear it. We'd love to hear what you guys think about getting our minds focused on certain areas and maybe just working on, like of these 5 different areas, because I know that physical exercise does help your mental health. But take a look at other stuff too, spiritual health, relationships, financially. What are some things that you can do? And I'd love to hear in your comments, what are some things that you could do to help your relationship with your friends and family or newcomers or members? What are some things you can do when it comes financially? What are things that you can do when it comes mentally or physically? We'd love to hear some of the things that you guys want to put into action also. All right, so there it is, guys. That is the word study, the practical word study for today. I think this is a very, very easy one to do, easy one to write down, but not hard, not easy to actually put into action. But it is quite easy too at the same time, because exercise just got to go out. You just got to go out and exercise. All right. So that leads us into the song of choice today on this Japanese Tuesday, and we're in the month of December, so I thought to myself, we got to get some Christmas music going on. So I found a Japanese Christmas song called Happy Christmas. Not Merry Christmas, it's Happy Christmas, and it's from a singer named Amu with Ran Miki-su. I have no idea who these people are. If you're Japanese, if you know who these singers are, go ahead, put that in the comments below. I'd love to know who they are. But this is the first Christmas song of December. This is Happy Christmas with Amu with Ran Miki-su.
してるみたい北風がささやいて耳元冷たいけど片っぽだけの手袋つなぐ手はあったかいね心ときめいてるきらめくイルミネーションすれ違う人と
And what a fun song. What a cute song. It's very, very Japanese. It's very cute. And almost at the end, it sounded like it wasn't even children. It sounded like there were chipmunks singing, like Alvin and the Chipmunks. But first Christmas song of December. I hope you guys really enjoy. If you have any other Christmas songs you want me to play, there are so many Christmas songs. I'm like, in my head, like, I can't wait to play this song. A lot of songs, like on Boy Band Thursday, can't wait to play a Christmas song by 98 Degrees, my favorite Christmas song. Well, there's two really, really big ones I love, but I'll be playing that on the Boy Band Thursday for sure, all right? So let's get into the final section today. We're supposed to do Provi in the media, but I have this thoughts on the week when it comes to these Friday prayer night meetings. And like I said, it was with the conversation with one of the head leaders, and very, very interesting, okay? So these are a couple of the things that I'm thinking about. Usually, from what I know, is Fridays are probably like the least participation, and most people do it online, and people say, I got work, and this is happening, that is happening, and I thought to myself okay. And I thought to myself, there's probably several different reasons why people are kind of not coming out to Fridays, okay? That's just my feeling, right? So I think two of the biggest reasons. Number one is fatigue. Fatigue just meaning like you've already been to 7-8 services. You went to the Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So there's 5 other services right there. Plus you have a Wednesday service. So that's 7 services you've already gone through. Plus you've listened to the word on this podcast and stuff like that too. So there's something, I'm sure some people are fatigued, right? Another reason that people would bring up is like, and also probably people are still recovering from the pandemic. They're not doing as well spiritually, and they probably prefer to do it online because just because they're not doing well or whatever it is. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think both of these are real reasons. I really do think that they are reasons because I know myself and I know what I'm going through right now too, right? So, we're already going to church, or we're already having these services 7, 8, 9 times a week. So if you have 6 pre-dawns, there's 6. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, which means there's 9. Just for basic, there's 9. And then on top of that, I go to church for sports. Then I go to church for a meeting. There's a lot of different reasons why we go to church, right? So, some people are going 9, 10, 11, 12 times a week. That's a lot, more than 1 time a day, right? So there could be fatigue in this, right? There could be, like families, it's hard to get their children to come out, or it's going to end too late, or it's starting to, and it's really crazy. Like for me is people will say, it's starting too early at 7 o'clock or 7:30. We need more time, right? But then when you push it to 8:30, they're still not coming to church. You know what I mean? They're still not coming, right? So it's kind of like, so they want it earlier so they have more time, but yet then again, they're not going to come to church anyways, kind of thing, right? So it's like, well, people, I think people in general will all come up with our own excuses why we're not going, right? So basically, for what I think is people are not coming or not going to come anyways, all right? Now, as a head leader or as a leader of a church, so we have a lot of leaders that listen to here too, is I believe as a leader, we don't want to be followers and just say, well, that's situation, so that's the way it's going to be. Is as a leader, we need to take responsibility of being part of the solution, right? So I'm not here saying that, you're part of the problem. My thing is a leader has to be part of the solution. What can we do, right? What can we do to make it better? What can we do to solve this issue that we're having, okay? And I think one of the big real issues that head leaders have is because we're so used to getting scripts. We're so used to getting all the direction, like 100% scripts, read it word for word, do this, do that. We're waiting for those things that we've become very, very used to just following what everyone else is doing. So I'm going to probably take a big guess right now is in most cases, I bet you in most cases, head leaders will probably go over the Sunday message. That's going to be the big thing. I know it, right? I'm pretty sure that most people will go over the Sunday message, all right? Now, for me, one of the things that makes it very difficult if I'm coming from the other perspective as a person who's coming to church is I just heard 7 services on the Sunday message. Right? Because 5 pre-dawns, all about the Sunday message, which is the Sunday message, the Wednesday, which is talking about the Sunday message. So I've already heard it 7 times, but then you want me to come to church again to talk about the Sunday service. You know what I mean? So when I look at that, I'm like, would that motivate me to go? Would that be enough to get me off my butt to go to church, right? And that's something that that I have to think about to myself as a leader. As a leader, what can I do to be part of the solution? And one of the hard parts about being a head leader is we need to think about it. We really got to think about the solution. How are you going to make this better? Can this be done better? What can we do in a better way? Because I'm looking at this like going, wow, it's already like, and I'm going to take both sides. Number one is, what do the head leaders talk about? They don't have any direction for the Friday. It's about prayer. It's a prayer meeting. But what if you listen to the Sunday message points again, which you've already heard like 7 times already? How is that going to make me want to pray even more? Right? Is it really going to inspire me? Like, besides the young people who are always excited and always there, but think about families and people who have to bring their kids and everything else. Is it real? Like, would that be something I'd be so inspired by? Or like, I'm going to tell you, like, the fatigue that even head leaders have is we think to ourselves, what do I talk about now? I've talked about the Sunday message 7 times this week. What more can I talk about that's going to actually make it better? Or that's going to actually make people want to pray, right? And it's hard. Like, I want you guys to think about it from the head leader's perspective. It's not hard. It's not easy on that side. They're not just doing the scripts or the Friday prayer messages. They're doing a bunch of things at the same time. They're managing people. They have these meetings. They're meeting departmentally. They're doing this. They're doing that. So many different things are going on. And when you look at this, you're like going, oh my gosh. That is so difficult that they need to come up with a prayer meeting every single week. And even when they're rotating among their leaders, it's not easy. And most of the time it's going to be like, this is what I realized from the Sunday message or whatever it is, right? And that's something that I look at and say, wow, that's a tough thing for the head leaders. That's why we really need to pray for our head leaders. And I'm sure once a month, a lot of churches will have a praise night instead because it gives a break. But technically speaking, if your head leaders are rotating on these Friday prayer night meetings, they're only like they're only like preparing like once every 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, they have plenty of time to do it, but it's almost like because they're so stuck on only doing Sunday message points, they're going to be stuck in a place where they can't even prepare for it until the week of that Friday prayer meeting. So imagine now, so that's from the side of the head leader, but let's take a look at the side from the people listening. So from the person who's listening, the hard part is it's so redundant. You're listening to the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Does that inspire you to pray? And the answer is probably not. You're going to get massive fatigue of the word. It's not inspiring. You're not ready to go to the next level in your prayer because of what you just heard, right? You won't. And, it's something that we really have to think about, like going, wow, so as someone who's a member, does this make me want to go all the way over to church to pray? And a lot of times people go to church because they have to, but they're not like, oh, I can't wait to go to church, right? It's almost like when I see some of the Christian churches that I visited, they can't wait to go to praise night. They can't wait to go to Sunday service, right? So even when I look at these churches at like this Kingdom City I went to here in Malaysia, they have a 9 a.m. service and still hundreds come out. Hundreds. They have 11 a.m. service and like 1,000 come out. Then they have like a 5 p.m. service and like hundreds come out to that one too. So it's kind of like, wow. And these people, some of them are driving an hour away. Like, because one of the questions came up is like going, man, wouldn't it be nice to have just one church? And if you have one church, everyone come to the same church, you'll have like 500, 600, 800 people in the same church. Oh, it would be so bustling. A lot of people coming, it'd be so great. But then some people are like going, oh, but then I'd have to wake up earlier and then I'd have to like drive an hour to church. But here's the crazy part is you go to the Christian churches and because it's done so well, everybody wants to go to church. They're looking forward to it. They can't wait to meet people there. They can't wait to go to service and have praise and worship and listen to the word. They can't wait for it. It's something that they look forward to. So even if it's for 1 hour, they'll still drive. In California, they have a church called Saddleback and the pastor is Rick Warren, very, very famous. He wrote the book, Purpose-Driven Life. Church has 30-something thousand people in it. Some people drive over an hour to get to church because they love church. They love it. It's not just the service, it's the community, it's meeting people, having people to talk to, children play with each other. Like, it's something where you look at and say, wow, that's a place that I want to be. It's an actual community I look forward to. You know what I mean? So when we look at ourselves, being part of the solution, it's something where head leaders have to think about it, and you as a member who's into this has to think about also. Because I know a lot of people, they don't contribute to the community of the church, where they'll come begrudgingly to church, and once service ends, they leave. They leave right away. They don't contribute. They're not part of the solution, right? They're putting in a culture where they just go and then they just leave. They're not part of any solution or building a community. It's something that has to be built on both sides. It really does. It has to be built on both sides, from leadership to those who are members, right? How can Friday prayer meetings become so much better, right? Well, number one, like some things that I'd bring up is like, man, that praise has to be fiery, like so on point, fiery, amazing, and awesome. That like if that praise is up at that level, people are gonna can't wait to get into that time of praise and worship, right? People can't get, and the word is not just like, I'm not saying that don't go over the Sunday message points, but don't just go over it like a Wednesday message. Don't just this week's Sunday message said this week's Sunday message said this week's Sunday message said this. Like, that's not a sermon. That's not a sermon to just go over points, right? Like, even when I get Sunday sermons or like Friday or Wednesday, when leaders come into start to preach, the one thing for myself personally, as someone who used to be a preacher, is not about repeating the same points over and over again. Why? Because anyone can do that. Anyone can reread the points of the Sunday message. Anyone can do that. Anyone can, so when I look at it, it's like going, people need insight. People need, what is it, what's something deeper about the Wednesday message, right? Even Fridays, if you go into the Sunday message or Wednesday message, what about testimony? What you did, putting the words of God into action, and then this is what happened, right? It's powerful testimony. People hear it's like, wow, that's amazing. That's a miracle. Wow, that's so awesome. And there's so many times we look at this, we're like going, oh, you know what? What does that mean? What should I do? Right? Sometimes we got to change things up. Sometimes we have the prayer night, a praise night. Sometimes we're praying for each other. Like, we have a time of praying for each other where we look at the person next to us and we say, hey, what can I pray for you right now? What can I pray for you about right now? Right? And then you turn to someone on the other side of you and say, hey, what can I pray for you about right now? This is something where we all look at it and say, yeah, these are some things that I miss about the former faith, is praying for each other. Doesn't happen a lot in Providence, to be honest, where people are literally coming to pray for each other. That is something that is a great community activity, praying for each other, just telling each other what's going on, having a great time together, resolving each other's problems or whatever it is. There are so many things that can happen. This is a community. It's not a place where we just review the Sunday message, thank God it's over, then we move to the next day. It's almost like sometimes I feel like we're just moving from service to 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 service. Okay, it's over with. Okay, now I have the day. Oh, I got service tomorrow. Oh, I got service. Like, sometimes people don't look forward to service. And I think that's something we should be looking forward to. But it's got to be different. It can't just, the Wednesday message can't just be repeating points. If it's just repeating points, you don't need a head leader. Anyone can just repeat points. The head leader's there for a reason. They know the condition of the church. They know what the church needs. They know what the church needs to do right now. It's something different. It's really crazy. Like when we look at all these things that are going on inside this chaotic world, and sometimes we just need peace. We need peace. Right? We need peace in our hearts. We need to know God is there. We need to know that the community is there for us too. We need to know that there's someone there who really loves us and cares for us. Like, not just God, but the people around us, right? If it's only about me and God, then I don't need to go to church. If it's only about me and God, then why do I just need to, I don't need to go to church at all. I just go online. Right? And some people are like that. They realize, they might get into that zone where it's only being online, where there's no contribution to the actual church itself, where you're getting along with your brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? And it's something that we have to think about really deeply, to the next level. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? We have to take things to the next level. We got to be part of the solution, right? When we think about part of the problem is we're only looking at what people are not doing or the faults of other people. But the biggest thing we have to look at now is, are you part of the solution? What can we do now to make it better? What can we do it so that everyone wants to come to Sunday service even if we're an hour away? What can we do that is just so amazing at church, everyone wants to be there? What can we do to build the community? What can we do, right? Sports? Sure, but not everyone's into sports. Eating? Everyone's into eating. What about this? What about, there are tons of things that we can think about right now. And I really, really hope it's something that we can kind of open our hearts and our minds to, understanding. Like, I got so many thoughts right now thinking about how we can make our churches better. How can we train our leaders better, right? I got a whole schloff on training our head leaders, assistant leaders, department leaders. What can we do? Our head leaders training their, our head leaders actually training their ALs and department leaders? Are they actually doing that? And the answer is, in most cases, no. I'll say no. In most cases, I've never seen it. They just go to meetings. Going to a meeting does not train anyone. It just makes them bored. And especially with some of the topics in the meetings, it's boring and it's so meaningless. Some of the meetings I've been to, the ones that I've done too, so meaningless. A lot of this stuff could have just been done through an email. A lot of it could have been done. Something's got to change. Something's got to break, right? When I mean something's got to break, it's either the people are going to break, the church is going to break, or we need to break our minds and reach the next level. It's kind of like my rear view window that got smashed. What's next? There's something that's got to change. Something's got to change, right? And it's got to be a breakthrough about me, my perspective, my mindset, or the church itself will break. Departments will break. Leadership will break. Leadership trust will break, right? The way we see each other is going to break. Something's going to break. Something's going to give along the way. And I really hope it's something that all of us can start thinking about even more. Would love to hear what you guys think about this segment too in the comments below. What can we do? Get a breakthrough, especially at the end of this year, all right? So that's kind of the thoughts that I had. And you can tell I'm really impassioned by this and that's why I'm switching the Provi and the media for this one here too. But hope you guys really enjoyed this. And this is the ending of my segment here. I can go for longer too, but I think this is a time where you guys can digest it and write a comment below about this too. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the end of the last segment and the end of our entire podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this time together. Have an amazing Tuesday, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm